Hey everybody, welcome to another Tuesday. We have Brad Fenson with us. Howdy.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, except for a bit of a cold or allergies or whatever it is. Hunting season's here. You get run down. You're up every morning at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, chasing birds, chasing deer, chasing moose, and it takes its toll.
Yeah, 'tis the season though.
Yeah.
That flu always comes right when it's hunting season. Hey Aaron. Yeah, no, I know at work people have been dropping like flies the last couple of weeks, but
That's because they're calling in sick to go out hunting.
yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
But how was your weekend?
The weekend was good. Hey, Sean. It was really foggy here on Saturday morning, like cut it with a knife thick, and we had a big snow goose shoot lined up and went out, threw up 1,000 decoys, and had a good shoot. We shot 119 ducks and geese, almost a full limit of specs. We needed four more birds, sorry. And the last flock that came in, two of the guys shot Canadas. Otherwise, we would have had a full limit of specs. You're allowed 8 this year. It was always 5. So it was something we were trying to achieve, and we ended up with 2 Canadas in the bag, but we were close.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys fish out of coffins or do you make blinds?
That particular hunt, because we were hunting white geese, I just wear whites, and I have the Alps snow goose chair. So they're a zero gravity chair, and you just put on your whites and sit right in the decoys, just lay back, and the birds come in right on top of you.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you set up like the U kind of shape so they kind of funnel into the middle, or?
No, snow geese are the complete opposite. With Canadas, they want that security to land in behind everyone else. Snow geese, because they feed in such big groups, there could be 5,000-10,000 birds in a field. They don't want to be at the back of the chow line. They want to be at the very front. So they're continually playing leapfrog, flying to the front of the pack. And that's where incoming adult birds want to go. So when I set up, I got long runs of decoys that are all walking out in a V, because the center part would have been eaten out. So they're continually walking out. And we string them out probably 250 meters or more. And they're sort of runways that those birds get over and get confidence and drop in elevation as they come in. And then they try to land behind you. A lot of the juvies, if you leave a hole right in front of you, 20 yards in front of where you're sitting, the juvies will come in there, but the adults all want to be at the front of the line.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
And it
pardon?
Seems with the speckle bellies, if you want to shoot more specks, set up a big snow spread, because it must be confidence in just the numbers, because the specs just worked us continually, and they do every year when we set up for snows.
Are they a little more skittish, the specs, or?
They can be. They can be a lot harder to fool and to decoy and to bring in, but in that fog, it was funny. I got a spec call, and you could hear them coming, and you'd talk to them, and they would just zero right in on that call, and all of a sudden they're out of the fog 30 yards in front of you. You had to shoot quick before they disappeared.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't even... Do they have a lot different call than a Canadian, or more like a snow?
It's similar to a snow, but it's 2 notes and very high pitched. So I've always said, if you want to shoot specs, you got to talk spec. Makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to kind of talk about getting the youth involved. I know there's a lot of people kind of getting into hunting and fishing the outdoors now after the COVID. They kind of exploded. What's some good steps you'd suggest to getting kids involved?
Well, I like to plant the seed early. I think you should take kids out when they're young, get them interested, and give them a taste of it. Our girls are 4 years old, and they've been going to the blind since they were 18 months old. And they were out again with us this year, opening week, and we shot birds, and they ran out and helped retrieve all the birds and had a great time. They think it's great fun. So, I have little doubt that they're going to be there in future years, and they may go through some years when they don't want to participate, but you can see the smiles on their face. They just had a really fun evening. We shot a pile of birds, some big honkers, a bunch of specks, and they've been asking ever since then, when are we going again? So we got plans this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll get them out. But there's no reason why you shouldn't get your kids out. it means adjusting your goals a little bit. You know, a lot of us are pretty hardcore and we go 100 miles an hour and never stop. And with kids, you got to sort of plan it with a little bit slower pace and make sure you got lots of food and snacks. Although I got lots of hunting buddies that you got to have lots of food for them too. So
yeah, snacks are key for everybody.
yeah. You know, and there's a ton of information. Harvest Your Own has a bunch of information in Alberta for getting started, getting youth started, how to pick the right shotgun, the shot, training, all the rest of it. And it's interesting because Alberta has the highest recruitment of young hunters and women hunters in North America right now. So it's there's something going on in Alberta that's working, and there's lots of people taking up hunting and fishing. And you know, you had mentioned that the COVID years, our numbers spiked. Like we hadn't seen that many anglers ever. Unfortunately, we've seen a big drop off again this year. And I say unfortunately because anglers' licenses are what pays for a lot of the management and the science behind our fisheries. And you know, Alberta is pretty limited in terms of the water we have, so it's always an important aspect of it. But anglers look at it two ways: more anglers, more competition. It's hard to see the dollars as part of the end game for what you want as well.
Yeah, no, there's quite a bit complaining in Central Alberta for angling.
Everywhere, but you know, we have what is it? Is it 860 or 880 lakes that have walleye in Alberta? I mean,
yeah,
you go to some of our neighboring provinces, they have 10,000 and some have 100,000. So it's all in perspective.
Yeah, for sure. You just got to take that extra little bit of a drive and make a weekend of it to get some of those better producing lakes these days.
Yeah, and of course we got something they don't. We have flowing water in a lot of places. So I know you're a big fan of the native trout fisheries and a lot of the stock fisheries, and hit them hard. And I know you got some secret spots too. So there's lots of places out there where people can go to find a little dream spot.
Oh yeah, out west is beautiful. You go to those little creeks and just go for a hike pretty much. Put on the miles, you're going to find holes, you're going to find the fish.
Yeah.
I know it was out last weekend. No, the weekend. Well, this weekend we went out too. We went down to Nordegg, then we took the trunk road all the way down to Rocky, hit up a bunch of little creeks, and it's always just fun. It doesn't matter. Like, even if I fish a small creek and catch a 12-inch, that's a big fish for that small creek, and you still get excited.
And when you do that, how many anglers do you run into?
We didn't run in. I'd never run into people on some of those little creeks.
Yeah, and I bring it up because, you know, everyone complains, but, you know, maybe get off the beaten path and do some exploring and fish some water where you don't even know there are fish, or you wouldn't think there are fish, because there's some real gems out there. There's some real hidden secrets.
Oh, for sure. Everyone just knows like the big names, so that's where they go. They skip they'll drive over that bridge on that little creek, and if you go for a little hike, there's a pool that's holding a beautiful big fish for the size of that creek.
Yeah, I agree. I used to do a lot more of that. I'd like to get back to it. There's never enough hours in the fall. Like, how do you divide yourself up? Fall fishing is some of the best in the year. You know, the fish are big, they're fat, they're trying to put away some calories before the ice comes. And of course, we got upland and pheasant stalking, and waterfowl is incredible. Elk are bugling, moose are calling. You know, we got all the pre-rut and being able to pattern deer at this time of year. You run yourself pretty thin sometimes trying to work it all out.
Yeah, it's kind of just jam-packed.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah. You have lots of options if you can make the time for it.
Yeah. Lots of times I head out, I got my bow, shotgun, rifle, and a whole bunch of other stuff, including a frying pan.
Yeah, 100%. Everything's loaded and you're just going fishing, but you got your bow.
I always say, like, I'm a planned opportunist. You know, I think it was years ago, I never bought all my licenses, and you go out, you know, you don't buy an elk license, you run into an elk, and you're like, I'll never do that again.
That'd be the worst.
Yeah. So, I mean, every year before the season's open, I buy everything I can. I have it with me. It goes in my wallet, never comes out the whole season. And if I'm out fishing and run into some grouse, well, we have some chicken sandwiches for lunch.
Yeah. And that's the best. That fresh stuff on the side of the river, or just out hunting. You cook that up fresh.
Yep.
That's
Can't
good.
beat it.
No. 100%.
Yeah.
Or even back at camp that night. I know me and my buddy like to do a bacon and shake and bake. It's nothing fancy, but
Yeah.
get that bacon going and fry that shake and bake in in that skillet with some grouse or something, or rabbit. Tasty.
Yeah. Those are the real adventures where you tie in some food aspect to it.
Oh yeah. I think food makes half the adventure half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I go duck hunting in the States with some of the guys there, you shoot some birds, they clean them right in the blind, and they throw them in a marinade, and an hour later they make kebabs with apples and mushrooms or something, and then they've got metal pails that they put charcoal in, and they just start cooking stuff as you're hunting all day, and you're eating skewers of fresh duck and veggies and stuff, and it's a good way to live, I'll tell you.
I'd say.
Yeah.
I need to figure that out somehow.
Yeah.
But on the fly when pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
Have you got out much this year for pheasant yet?
I have not been out for pheasants. I've shot some grouse, some roughies. The sharptails are open now. You know, October 1st used to be a big day for me. I'd always make a journey down to the prairie and chase sharptails around for 2 or 3 days. And, you know, you might end up walking 15, 17, 18 miles a day, but it was always rewarding to get a few birds and see them. And, you know, when the population was up, you might flush a couple hundred birds, and it was something, again, I got to put back on the list to get out and do. There's just too much going on early October to fit it all in.
Yeah. Yeah, no. A couple hundred birds. I've never seen that many in one time, but that would be crazy. But we have flushed some down south mule deer hunting in archery season. But usually we're hunting mule deer, so you're not prepared.
Yeah, you know, the nice part about firing them when you're hunting mule deer, they're usually wild birds. You find them in like the river bottom or some creeks with some native habitat and thorny buffalo berry, stuff like that, where they're hanging out in the thick stuff. And, you know, those are wild birds that would always be worth a trip back to try to find again.
Yeah, no. We were trying to make it down. Like this year with all the fire bans down south, the permission's been a little harder to get onto. So hopefully we get some rain or snow, at least something soon.
Right.
Because I know a lot of landowners are not letting people on.
You know, it's funny you say that. I had an elk draw down there a couple of years ago when it was really dry, severe drought. And somebody told me, if you go ask for permission, make sure you have a fire rake and an extinguisher in your truck. So I did.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd go and ask for permission, and they'd be humming and hawing. I'd say, I'm going to stay on the trails. I got a fire rake with me. I got this. And, you know, it got me access where I probably wouldn't have if I didn't have the stuff with me.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. Just have a little boat fire extinguisher or something on your back, maybe. It's a good idea. I'm going to use that.
Anything to try to get onto some land with some big deer.
Yeah, no, we got antelope in 2 weeks, so we're going to have to secure some properties.
Yeah.
So we know quite a few people down there, so it'll be okay, I think. But I know my one buddy pulled a mule deer tag in a zone we don't regularly hunt, so it'll be a good adventure, but we just don't have those contacts as usual.
Right. Well, if you're hunting down south, at least when you get permission, they usually have lots of land.
Yeah.
It's a big ranch.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
What other plans do you have this fall?
Boy. This week, I'd really like to concentrate on a moose. I've been out moose hunting. I'd be out right now if I wasn't doing the podcast. I've been bow hunting in my backyard, trying to call in a bull. I've seen a few cows that I could have shot, but having fun. But it's been awful warm. They have not been going much, except the last couple of days. I've seen lots of activity. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that it'll make up for the end of September. I mean, last week I talked to some outfitters that normally go 100% on moose, and they got 1 out of 8. They didn't even see moose, but you know, they had 3 days in the north that were over 29 degrees.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was out last week. It was 31 degrees. We were hunting geese for an evening shoot, no wind, wearing shorts and white pullover pants over top to hide in the snow goose decoys.
Yeah. This fall is crazy to think that Usually we're on the ice in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and what I can't believe is it's October 4th, right? I mean, we have not had a frost here east of Edmonton.
No.
Not one.
Really?
So we're still on frost-free days. I think the closest we've got is 3 degrees. So not even close as far as I'm concerned. But, the grass hasn't really died back. We talk about upland hunting for roughies or even pheasants. You get a couple of frosts, it usually makes it quite a bit easier. And it's kind of got me in limbo on a couple things. You're kind of waiting for the weather to change and take advantage of the weather. You don't know which way to turn anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice if we got some colder weather. I know 2 weekends ago I was on the Ram and I woke up and it was fairly chilly. It must have got down below zero because on my cooler there was ice on it. So
yeah,
starting to frost out there.
Got the elevation advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even this weekend, I think it's still supposed to be like 17 in Nordegg.
Yeah, which is hard to believe. I mean, my biggest concern, like last week, if you shoot a moose when it's 30 degrees, man, you got to do some work real fast and find some place to cool it down. I mean, to me, shooting a moose is all about the meat. So it's, I'm not going to shoot it if I can't take care of it.
Yeah, you better have some friends to get packing. I had a buddy shoot an elk last night, and they got it out quick, but this heat's just crazy.
Yeah, I guess if I had an option, I'd prefer to shoot it in the evening because at least the temperatures are dropping. You shoot it in the morning, and it seems to warm up fast.
Oh, you got to be quick.
Yep.
Be nice to have the quad access if possible in those situations.
Yeah, it's strange to be hunting geese in October and still having to run a thermocell to keep the mosquitoes away.
I haven't seen too many mosquitoes lately.
We still have some up here. It depends if you get into some spots around some wetlands. It's dry, of course. We haven't had rain since the middle of July, but where there is water, there's still bugs.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Hopefully we get some colder weather. It'd be nice to get a dump of snow.
It would change things fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most years we do get it early snow.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 3 years ago, October 10th, we got hit hard with snow. Froze out most of the birds, like 90% of the ducks and geese left. And, most people switched over to big game entirely right away.
Huh. Yeah, I remember seeing some memories come up on Facebook. And even in September, out by Nordegg, we're at a hunting camp and it was a foot of snow or something.
Yeah, I know.
Don't.
Yeah.
But those are fun trips.
Yeah.
That early snow.
You've been out pheasant hunting already?
Yeah, I got out once and it was good to get Stormy out. She didn't get out last year at all. So she was pretty mad, I think. But she didn't skip a beat. Like first bird right away, probably only 200 yards into our walk, she just starts locking up. And I'm just like telling my buddy, because I never bring a gun the first time I go out every year. It's just something I do for some reason.
Yeah, for the dog.
Probably a bad idea, but locked up like 6 feet in front of us, full point. Then I'm like, get ready to my buddy. He doesn't pheasant hunt much or goose or anything. So shooting on the fly is not that he's not practiced up, I'd say.
Right.
So that bird came by him, I don't know, 10 yards and he let it go a bit, but a swing and a miss. But
yeah,
what can you do? It's just like all that just happens and that bird's up in your face pretty much. So it's always fun the first couple times. It's always fun getting those birds coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out. I'm going back to the Tabor Pheasant Festival.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if everyone knows, but they have a mentored hunt or anyone that hasn't hunted before, you can sign up for their program and go down there and they take you through a bunch of clay shooting, how to handle the shotguns. And then they actually have birds that they release and you can shoot. And it's a pretty good experience for first-time hunters. And it's funny, you get first-time hunters signed up and it's limited numbers. So it's first come, first serve. Anyone that wants to do it for next year, because they're full this year, make sure you get your kid's name in there. But I say kids, but I've been there twice now when there's somebody that's like 78 years old or someone 84 that's never hunted and coming out to try it for the first time, which is pretty cool too. So if you know anyone that wants to get into it, hasn't tried hunting, it's a great place to go to introduce them. And you can put in for some shooting spots. And if you get drawn, you can have a place to go hunt pheasants the next day as well.
Oh, yeah. I know that one books up like crazy quick.
Yeah, you got to draw a spot. So,
yeah,
you know, June's the time to mark your calendar, put your name in, try to draw some spots. And, you know, you can take 4 people with you. Every site has 4 hunters in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. They put out 20 birds every day on each site. So there's lots of opportunity to shoot birds. And it's surprising, you know, you think released birds are going to be easy, but a lot of guys that run dogs all the time say they're tougher than the wild birds because they just run and run and run.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Wild birds, as you know, they'll flush pretty quick, pretty easy, often out of range. But these released birds, at least the ones they've had the last couple of years, they seem to be runners.
Yeah, you get them in those Caragandas. They're just ripping.
Yeah.
It's best just to wait at the end and let the dog go through because they're going to pop out.
Yeah, exactly.
But my dad was saying there, this heat's just hard on the dogs too. They get worn out so quick. Like you got to keep them hydrated and everything.
Yeah, you got to give them more water than yourself if you want to keep them going.
Yeah. And even then, I think after a bit, they're just not smelling as good because they're just exhausted.
Yeah. It's like taking kids for the first time. You know, you got to slow it down and make sure it's fun. And even though you want to stay out all day, it's maybe 3 or 4 hours is lots, and I'll go back home.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we run our dogs. Do a quick lap, and they're usually pretty tuckered.
How were they with holding the scent in the heat? Obviously pretty good.
At the beginning, it was good. Then towards the end, she wasn't picking up as much now. Yeah. But at the beginning, we had a nice breeze, so we worked our way into the winds, and she was killing it. Then later on, as she gets tired, like any dog, they kind of lose their scent. So,
yeah.
But hopefully next week we can get out again. Take advantage of maybe some slower time at work for a little.
Yeah, the release sites, they go right to the end of October. And on the 15th, they actually start putting out some of the melanistic birds. They're going to have at least 1,000 of them again this year. So they put them out randomly on all the release sites. Who knows, if you're out there, you might be lucky enough to get one.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What other hunts you have planned this winter or this fall?
Well, I have an elk tag I want to use, and I wouldn't live in Alberta and not hunt whitetails. So I have a whitetail tag, and Strathcona tags, and a mule deer tag that I plan on hunting archery for. So, and then I got some traveling in the States as well. I've got tags in Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma.
Are those for all whitetail?
Nebraska's either deer, whitetail or mule deer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's whitetails.
Yeah. Are you gonna go for a whitetail or mule deer, or do you have a choice?
I quit saying what I was going after because in the Sandhills you can find a trophy mule deer as easy as you could a trophy whitetail. So
yeah,
you know, it's nice to be able to go and not have to pick. If you see a good buck, you can just go after it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Beautiful country down there.
It is. Yeah. Always chase some pheasants and some greater prairie chickens and stuff afterwards as well.
Yeah. Always something to do.
Yep. Never sit around camp, that's for sure.
No. I know earlier this year you went to Hawaii?
Yeah, back in June I hunted axis deer in Hawaii. Was over there with Nosler and Loophole and Camp Chef. So we tried some of the new Nosler 21 in 6.5 Creedmoor. I think we shot 22 axis deer when we were there. Processed them all, ate a bunch of them. They're very good eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Supposed to be one of the better red meats in the world to eat. So it ranked pretty high.
Yeah. Would you say it's your favorite?
I don't know if it's my favorite. That's still tough to judge. I still think it's hard to beat an elk.
Yeah.
I've tried some of the exotic stuff too, like some of the oryx and nilgai antelope and stuff like that. They're all very good, but they're a little different. They don't have the predominant glands like our deer do, so they never get as stinky and smelly. So the meat always tends to be a little bit more mild.
Huh. We know you do a lot of cooking. What's kind of your favorite go-to recipe?
Well, if I don't know what to cook, I'll make some bulgogi. A marinade with some soya, ginger, garlic, sesame oil, bit of sugar or honey or something like that. Marinate stuff and then get it right on the fire where you can actually char it. Bulgogi actually means fire meat, so you got to char it, so get that dark edge on it for the flavor. And boy, it's good. I do ducks like that, and deer, moose. It's quick, easy, and you can do it fresh or stuff out of the freezer. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you are you going to be heading for a spring bear next year?
Yeah, I go every year. It's just I always say that the best way we did the bear show this spring. I said the best way to ruin a bear hunt is to shoot a bear, but I think it's just getting out after a long winter, just back in the forest and doing things and getting active. It's fun.
Yeah, totally agree. I didn't even make it to my bait, but I had a buddy and his kid took one off the bait. So he was super pumped. It's always awesome to get the kids out there. Right. And that was the first big game animal. And they sent me the text, "Oh, I got one coming in." Then it circled back and left. He's like, "Oh, it's gone." I'm like, "Don't worry, it's going to come back. Just get ready." And sure enough, it circled and came in, and he made a good shot. And happy little hunter right there.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's funny. During the COVID years, everything slowed down, and a lot of people got their kids out. I was in bear camp, and 2 other people brought their sons, so we had 4 kids in camp, and all of them shot incredible trophies, like stuff that you and I would dream of seeing out there. So it was a spectacular week in camp. We shot some great bears. A lot of them, it was the first time they'd ever tried bear meat. They were astonished at how good it was. So it's interesting. And they were right in there helping skin, do all the work. I think that's important too when you get them out there. Let them learn from it. Don't do everything for them where they're just along as like an exercise. It's hands-on. Definitely hands-on. Get them in there. Get them doing everything.
100%. Was that up at a lodge there?
Yeah, it's an outfitter that normally, he's normally full with clients. He had his 3 boys up, and then a friend with a son, and actually wrote a couple stories on it. Kids bear camp. It was a fun week. Oh,
I bet. Yeah, there's a big stigma about how bear meat's no good, and I've cooked so much over the fire for friends, and they're just like, "That's bear."
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, it's delicious, man.
It's funny. I just wrote a piece for Outdoor Life that's it's on the internet right now about bear fat and all the different uses for it and remedies, and it was a big part of what settlers had to harvest in the fall because there was no store to go buy cooking oil. So bear fat was their lard. They filled containers and jars and all kinds of stuff with it, and they hunted bears for the fat and for the meat.
Huh. And for the fur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never utilized the fat. I've just always taken the meat pretty much. But
have you ever shot a fall bear?
Nope.
Yeah, in the fall, like right now, if you find a bear, it'll probably have a good 3 inches of white fat on its back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then you just render it down and.
Yep, you can run it through a grinder first, put it in a bake pan, and just bake it, and it'll turn clear. And you can run it through cheesecloth and clean it up, and it'll come out just real nice, crystal like white lard.
Yeah. Huh. I'll have to give that a go.
Yeah. And it doesn't go bad. It doesn't go rancid. So that's the other reason they liked it. It had good shelf life.
Huh. Yeah. No, that'd be tasty for some breakfasts.
Yeah, it's funny you say a lot of people don't try it. Again, talking about kids, getting them involved. You get them involved at a young age and get them eating this stuff, and they'll never look back or question it. I was in bird camp with a bunch of families that eat the hearts and gizzards and stuff like that, and the kids were fighting over the hearts.
Oh, I
It was
love a
like,
heart.
yeah, it was like the best part of the bird. Everyone was looking for the goose hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that little treat, like a little M&M.
Right. But how many people don't take them, where you talk about this and they make a face like, I wouldn't eat that.
No, they're a great snack.
Yeah.
If you get a few of them, you can just, over the fire, bacon.
Yeah. Everything with bacon. I like to brine them in a salt and sugar brine and put them on a skewer and do them right on the grill or the fire.
Oh, nice.
I mean, if you shoot a bunch of big honkers, the hearts are a meal. Like there's enough of it. There's a pile of it.
Yeah, that would be tasty. With your hunts in the States, do you ever have problems transporting your firearms down?
I haven't. I always apply for the permits. You have to apply at least 6 weeks in advance, and you do it all online, send it in, and they send you back your form signed and stamped. And when you show up at the airport or at a border crossing, they ask you for your paperwork and check it, and it's always been good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard some horror stories, but if you do everything by the book, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, and it's still at the officer's discretion, so I guess it depends on how you approach life too sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been hunting a lot around your place, and you've just been noticing the moose aren't going yet. Do you think even with no cold weather, they're going to go into the rut no matter what, or do they kind of need that frost to hit?
No, they'll rut no matter what. It's more about the number of daylight hours that triggers them. It triggers the cows to come into heat, and we're there. So last week was really hot. I think that if there was any rutting activity, it would have been in the middle of the night. Yeah. But even this morning, I drove into the city. I saw 2 moose. One bull had his head down, going across the road. He was on a mission. So they're definitely rutting. It's just catching them. It's so warm that they're not moving during the day.
Yeah, like you said, that first light and last light is probably your best opportunity.
Yeah, and if the cows aren't moving, the bulls won't be moving.
Are you calling right now?
Yes. Yeah. That's my favorite way to hunt moose is bring them to you. I mean, they're hard to find as it is. They got incredible radar. Their ears don't miss anything. And with all the leaves starting to fall, you're not going to sneak up on one unless you got a really good wind. So calling is always a bonus.
Yeah, no, it's amazing adrenaline rush when they get in tight, and it's just you and that big moose.
Yeah, a friend of mine called me today. He's been hunting moose hard for 10 days, and he said he finally saw the big one today, but he was with a cow. So we talked about strategies. He's going to go back and make sure he's there again tomorrow, because as soon as that bull breeds that cow, he's going to be looking for the next one. And he was calling there, so that bull will probably, it'll look for the cow that was there. So he needs to be back in there calling, and when that bull is freed up, he might have a good chance at it.
Oh yeah, just be persistent with your calling.
Yeah, so it's all strategy. You either have to cow call them, or where they're cowed up like that. If you can get in close enough, you can grunt at them and rake the trees and try to challenge them and get them to come fight you. But the cow's got to want to come too. If she takes off, then the bull's going too. So it's always a crapshoot. It works great sometimes, but every scenario is different.
Yeah. That with elk, that's probably a little harder because they usually have their herds all. Because last night when Buddy shot cow elk last night with his bow, and as soon as he shot, he saw 5 bulls and like more elk than he's ever seen on his property. And one like real good bull. But with them in the rut, and they're pretty full swung, if not coming down a bit right now. Do you think, how would you try to get that herd bull away from that herd?
Well, you got to get in close. The herd bull is going to stay with the cows. The other bulls are going to get pushed to the edges, and he'll run them off. So he's got a really good chance of getting that bull to react because it sounds like there's a lot of satellite bulls. So he's got to run them and cover every direction because they're going to try to sneak in the back door. So the herd bull is going to have his work cut out for him, and he'll know that. So I find that those bulls that are real busy, you get a better chance of making them mad quicker. They're going to respond faster because they're having to respond to so many things that they're short-tempered. So that might be an advantage for him, is to just get in tight and challenge bugle and keep pushing.
Huh. I'll let the other buddy know that has the tag still.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing it, because I know they said it was a real good bull, like a 7x8 or something. So
sorry about the coughing.
That's okay. We'll let it slide. Yeah, no, I haven't hunted elk much, barely ever. So all that is good info.
It's one of my favorites. I've shot a lot of bulls with the bow and with the rifle during the rut. And I'll be honest, I've shot the majority of my bulls in October. So that second estrus, they tend to be a little bit more responsive. Early in the rut in September, I find that if they can get a herd of cows and sneak away to some place where they can hide them from other bulls, they'll keep them there, and they can be fairly quiet. But come October, when most of the cows are bred, those bulls get real vocal because they're looking for the last ones, and they respond. But they seldom come to you. Those that you'll hear them, you need to go to them. And again, keep pushing them and use cow calls and bull calls, and you can get them to come. But I've shot the majority of my bulls on that second estrus. That that second week of October, it seems to be a pretty good time to be out, which is next week.
Yeah. Interesting. For the whitetail, well, then we roll into whitetail rut pretty much. Pre-rut's going to be a couple of weeks away too. So
yeah, it won't be long, and they'll be setting up their scrapes and thinking about love. That's what they do. So I'm sure they're already getting geared up for it a little bit, but they're this time of year. It's nice patterning them, going into the different food sources and getting back to bedding. If you got a big deer, he's usually going to be in a pattern. 3 weeks from now, forget about patterning them. They start running all over the place, and they might set out a scrape line where they come back to check it for the first little bit. But once the rut gets going, you never know which direction they're going or how far they're going.
Yeah, you can get a buck that you have never seen on your camera to show up.
Right, which is the good part about hunting the rut, but it's also the bad part because the deer you've been hunting might have just disappeared.
Yeah, for sure. For that pre-rut, I know I always like to stay kind of on those scrape lines. What's kind of your tactics?
I love hunting. If you can find a scrape early, I like put a trail camera on it, stay downwind, try to find the other scrapes because they always put them in a half moon or a semicircle. And, they hit those scrapes. It's the calling card, and the does start hitting them. Then every other buck's checking them out too. And it's fun to watch the scrapes early before the breeding starts. It's like dating circle or internet, you're getting to check everyone out and what they look like, what they smell like, and away you go.
Do you do any calling or rattling, or do you wait till the rut progresses to do more rattling?
No, it's funny you ask that. I find that pre-rut, the soft rattles work well, and it's because bucks are trying to just figure out the pecking order. Who's the one to dominate and who's one to be afraid of. So they're pushing around a fair bit. It's more tinkling than crashing and booming. So they're sparring, but they're not trying to kill each other yet. So they're interested and they're highly intrigued. So rattling early can work. I just don't go real aggressive. I do it, think of the deer as trying to sort things out, and they're still doing it in a friendly manner.
Yeah. Will you do doe calls in the pre-rut, or do you wait later?
I've never done doe calls pre-rut. It might, there's no reason why it wouldn't work. Those bucks are all hoping to get the first one. So, the first one that comes into heat creates a bit of a frenzy. So creating mock scrapes and stuff can sure work too. You can, lots of people putting out branches for licking branches and different things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we usually do a few mock scrapes. I've always found like when the bucks are going crazy, I've always done good on just a doe call.
Yeah, when they're going crazy, yes. But early in the season, we talk about finding a scrape. Well, if you don't find one, create a mock scrape, and the bucks that travel through, they'll come and check it out. Like that's how scrapes work. So early season, that's a really good tactic.
Yeah, yeah, those mock scrapes is just another one to competition that just showed up.
Yep, that's right. Checking everyone out.
For the heavy rut, I've never really rattled too hard in the heavy rut. I've always just done the doe bleats.
Yeah, or buck grunts. I don't know if you've ever seen a buck chasing a doe, or one that's on the trail, but they often bleat almost every step. Bah, bah, bah,
Yeah.
bah. And you can work a grunt call in a series, and I've grunt called in lots of bucks over the years, like lots. I remember one time out in eastern Alberta, I think we called in 5 in one evening.
Oh,
obviously the rut was on, things were happening, and it just worked that time. My buddy and I, we both shot good bucks that night.
Nice. Yeah, my biggest whitetail brought in with a doe bleat, and every time I hit that bleat, he just went,
yeah,
put his head down every time he hit it.
Yeah,
and he came in from like 200 yards.
So when they grunt like that, other bucks hear that, they know what it means. It means you found a hot doe. So sounding like a buck that's chasing a doe or has found one is just all the other bucks are listening. If they hear it, they're going to be checking you out. And you often see that in a rut chase. You'll see several bucks chasing a single doe. The dominant guy's in the front, but it draws a crowd.
Yeah. Josh was wondering about some tips for making mock scrapes.
Yeah, if you ever find a whitetail scrape, pay attention to the details, like overhanging branches. It's usually at the base of a willow or a tree that they can remove all the grass and the leaves and stuff like that. And it's just a really good way to see what's fresh as well. I've had some people say they'll sprinkle flour or different things in it too, just to see the hoof marks, and you can see what's new every time you go back. You can do little things like that, but just get a stick or something, rake it out, and you can use different synthetic scents. You can't use real scents in Alberta, but synthetic ones work, and the deer will come and check it out.
With how they hoof it out,
that
V pattern, is that usually the direction they're going?
No, it's they're always going to turn into a scrape where the overhanging branch. So they got preorbital glands around their eyes and at the base of their antlers, and they got glands in their hooves between their hooves. So they're leaving scent up on the branches above. They're leaving it in the scrape. They also urinate in it, run it over their tarsal glands. It's there's lots of different scents that they leave there. So when you create a scrape, you really need that overhanging branch. Put some scent on it, put some on the ground, and freshen it up when you can.
So they're not doing the circuit. If that V is pointing on a couple different scrapes on your line, they can just come from wherever. That's kind of not their thing.
I find they more center up on the shrub or the tree where they're making the scrape rather than the direction they're traveling. But you can normally find the scrape line. You'll find another scrape within 50 or 100 yards. And there's normally 5, 6, or 7 of them in a semicircle pattern where they try to put it out where anything traveling downwind of that scrape line is going to catch that scent and come over to check it out. So you find the scrape lines, you're going to find the primary scrapes are going to be big, heavily used, deeper. You'll be able to smell them yourself. And then there's secondary scrapes that are smaller that they're going to check, but once things really heat up, they're going to leave those ones alone and just be on the primary scrapes.
Oh, yeah.
So, a bit of strategy as well, learning how to play it. If you find a scrape line, spend some time figuring it out, find out where the primaries are, where the secondaries are. It can really help you position yourself to be in a prime spot when you need to be.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, me and my dad, we just got in on this scrape line. We hunt a lot of crown land out west because we just like the camping aspect of it, the whole kind of adventure. And we just got on the scrape line. I'm sitting down, getting my horns out and everything. And he's just going up to break a branch. Then there's a deer, like, boom, right there.
Yeah.
And he's just coming in, doesn't even know what's going on a string. 7-yard shot with the rifle.
Well, that's the nice thing is they're preoccupied. They know where they're going. They know what they want to do. They know what they're checking out. And often they put their blinders on. It's all about finding that doe and seeing what competition came by, not thinking that Mitch is there with his dad.
No, they didn't get the memo.
Yeah. You can't fool their nose, though, so make sure you're always hunting downwind. And that's why it's great to find that entire scrape line. So, depending on the different winds, you can always find an area of that scrape line to hunt for the different winds and find cover for yourself. One might be great on a northwest wind. The other one might be better on a south wind, depending on where it is. So it's always good to investigate a little bit once you find one.
Yeah. Location.
Yep.
Do you have any hunts planned after Alberta season's done? Or that's kind of the States hunts?
Mostly in the States, although, last year, even January 15th, I was out for grouse. I've made it a habit of, they extended our season, so I take advantage of it. I shoot grouse in December and January now. It's a great get out late season, shoot some snowshoe hares and a couple of roughies or spruce grouse. And definitely do that. I hunt waterfowl late as well. I've got a couple sweet spots on some rivers that have springs that don't freeze up and they always hold birds. There's always some big mallards that hole up there, and they really have nowhere else to go. So you can slide in there, shoot your limit, get back out, and they have to go back to that water because there is nothing else. So they do get back into it. So you probably know a couple of those spots too, because some of them are on some prime trout water where there's some springs keep the river open, and there's always a pile of ducks in there late.
Yeah, that's what's nice about that open water. It seems like every year more and more birds are sticking around for the winter.
Yeah, and it's too bad they do. They did a study years ago out at the Keep Hills plant at Wabman. The water's open year round because of the power plant, and the ducks would stay there. And I actually went out every week and shot a number of birds and would turn them in, and they analyzed them. But the birds that stick around all winter aren't in very good shape, at least in the northern part of Alberta. And they weren't in good enough condition to even breed in the spring if they survive. So,
oh, really?
Birds down on the Bow River, that's a different story. Yeah. A lot of those birds are out feeding in barley and wheat fields all winter long. They got good feed because the feed's available. So they often make it through, and Calgary overwinters a tremendous amount of birds. So the last couple of years I've been down there hunting late season honkers right to the end of the season too.
Yeah, you think crow's nest and everything would be great as well.
Yeah, and again, down even further south of that, some of the rivers, and again, there's lots of springs on our rivers, and as an angler, you'll know where some of those sweet spots are. They turn into late season waterfowl hot spots. You can go for a late season cast and blast on some of them.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Do you find the roughies taste different as it gets later season? A few people I've talked to say I never go late season just because lots of the areas I hunt roughies, there's usually a trap line, so I don't like taking the dog out on there. But
right. I find the roughies don't change too much. Spruce grouse definitely get stronger as winter progresses because their diet changes from clover and berries to pine needles. So, they're called the spruce grouse, but they eat pine needles. So it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
But they definitely get stronger, just like snowshoe hares. If you shoot them this time of year, boy, they're very good eating. And the later in the winter it gets, the stronger they get in flavor. So it's interesting. It's just a change of diet, and it's also a lot of it is moisture content. There's no water for them, so they're getting what they can out of the snow in their feed. But people might have noticed this with moose too. If you shoot a moose in the late season when it's cold and stuff. A lot of times, even the younger bulls can be a little bit tougher. You got to age them a little more. And my theory has always been it's because they're dried out, they're dehydrated, they're tightened up, just like we do if we don't have water. So, it's not like they can replace it. A lot of years we're frozen up and there's no snow on the ground. Think about that for wildlife in their situation. Moose could go weeks without a drink or snow or anything.
That's interesting. Makes total sense.
It's my theory. I don't know if it's right, but
no. If you can't get the water in you, it's definitely going to tighten you up, and just the stress probably from that as well.
Yeah, I think they've adapted to live with that, but I think it does change their physiology and stuff.
For those late season spruce grouse, do you have a recipe you like to use for them to try to
I make them with curry, or I make a butter chicken with the spruce grouse, and it's awesome. Yeah, it's not like you want to hide the bird entirely. You want to take the edge off them, and it does that. So you can still taste the grouse, and it makes a really good meal.
Yeah, no, curry with the spruce grouse, that would be good. Do you marinate them at all, or just let the curry take?
If you think that a bird is going to be a stronger flavor, whether it's a duck, a goose, like a diver, or a grouse, always brine it. A saltwater brine, even if it's only for an hour, is going to help. It definitely changes the appearance of the meat, draws a lot of the. It's not blood that's left in the meat. It's called myoglobin, but it can actually be what the flavor comes from. A lot of that stronger gamey flavor. So by brining your birds, you can get some of that myoglobin out of them, and it changes it lightens up the flavor is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Huh.
I do that a lot with my ducks. You shoot ducks and they're very dark. They're almost purple like color.
Yeah.
And you marinate them in a salt brine for 2 hours in the fridge and take them out, and they're light colored, like they're 4 shades lighter than they were when you put them in.
The mud ducks.
Yep.
Huh. We'll have to do that and shoot more mud ducks, I guess. No, we're talking about heading out soon for some ducks. I don't do a lot of duck hunting, but it's a lot of fun when I do get to go out.
Early this year, I saw more ducks than I ever did early, because normally early season, 1st of September, they're still in their family units. They don't call, they answer the hen, and they'll come out. There'll be 5 or 7 or 8 in a group. But this year we hunted that first week of September, and we had fields where we were hunting like 6,000-7,000 mallards coming in. We had strings of birds that were a kilometer long. It was crazy. We shot our limits of ducks every day. Yeah.
I always thought mallards were a little later coming through.
They normally are, but this whole year has been strange. The spring was late coming on, and farmers planted late, yet the crops have been coming off early. We have no frost. It's October, so the whole year has been very strange.
Yeah, for everything. Fishing, hunting.
Yeah.
Do you have any fishing plans for this winter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to ice fish 35, 40 days a winter, and I'd like to get back to that. I love fishing for anything through the ice. Walleye, whitefish, perch, trout, lake trout. Yeah, it's all fun. It's to me, it's a completely different activity than open water angling.
Oh, yeah.
And it has its own rewards. It is just, to me, it's just a totally different game. So I enjoy it as much as I do getting out with my boat. And I always look forward to it. I've always said, if you live in Canada and you can't embrace activities you do in the winter, you're probably not going to like where you live. But I couldn't see myself living where we don't have ice.
No, ice fishing is a blast.
Yeah.
Do you have live scope or Panoptics or any of that fancy new stuff?
No, I don't.
No. Are you planning on getting it?
I don't know. There's lots of the industry that I'm always trying to keep up with. So I just did a hunt with Federal Cartridge Company, which was Federal Premium, is now back to Federal. Bought Remington ammunition. Remington went broke. They bought them from the receiver, so they own Remington. They have them back up in full production. They also bought Heavy Shot. So Federal now has a major part of the shot shell industry, and we just did a waterfowl hunt here in Alberta, shot a pile of ducks and geese and used all the products. And so you talk about specific scopes. Well, I haven't got into all that stuff, but I try to keep up with ammunition and firearms and the regular optics and clothing and boots and cooking gear and archery and crossbows and arrows and broadheads. And so it's hard to add new things to it because there's just never enough days.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
The technology is interesting. Like, I love the start of your show, all the different shots. I was going to ask you, like, you put that sizzle together. What's your favorite one? Is it your mule deer or the big cutty, or what's your favorite piece to look at?
I've been more fishing lately, more focused on fishing, I guess.
Yeah.
Hunting is always, I love just getting out, even if it's just walking through the trees, right? Just still hunting or something. It's just being part of nature, I guess, when you're out there, just blending in, kind of just that relaxation. And there's so many different things that I love about both of them. It's hard to choose.
Yeah, people ask me, like, if you had to choose. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to choose, because I like hunting elk, and sometimes it takes like 14 days till you get a chance to harvest a bull.
Yeah.
But then I love going duck and goose hunting, where you can fire off 100 rounds in a morning. So complete, enjoyment from different aspects of it.
Total different things.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps us coming back, I guess.
And we're lucky to live where we do, to have the diversity. Like, we're blessed in Alberta. We talk about, what are you going to hunt? Well, I've got elk, moose, mule deer, whitetail, bear, waterfowl, upland game bird. I got all the licenses, tags. And the only reason I don't have more is because I didn't draw an antelope tag or something else that's, on that limited list.
Yeah. And it's getting worse.
Oh, yeah. Much.
Yeah. Like, I'll get another antelope tag in probably 2 years. Then after that, who knows how long that draw will be.
Yeah, they're saying it could be 20, 25 years between draws. Like, and I hate to age myself, but I remember where you could draw every year. Nobody hunted antelope.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I've been holding out for a Yaha Tinda bull, and I bet you I'm still three years out for sure with looking at the draw results and everything. But
don't get discouraged. I always say, stick with it. We're lucky we have those opportunities, and you can still hunt elk. You got a buddy that's got 5 bulls on his place chasing the cows right now. Yeah, tell him you've got a strategy, but you need to be there.
Yeah, I got a strategy, and I can hook you up with mule deer down south.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. No hunting, fishing. I don't know what else. Like, it's amazing just to be in the outdoors and fill your time with that. I can't see myself doing anything else, really.
Yeah, I often wonder, people that don't hunt and fish, what do they actually do?
Yeah. Even if you're just going for a walk and you just find your scrapes and stuff, it's just awesome seeing nature doing its thing.
Yeah, you talk about getting out for spring bear. To me, it's like early scouting for moose and elk. You look at where they spent the winter, find some sheds. There's lots of sign out there that tells you something about that area if you're going to return there and hunt again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we killed an hour pretty quick. Yeah. Where can people find you and stuff to check out that you're part of?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and it's really hard. Brad Fenson. I kept it simple so people can just put my name in. You'll find me, follow me there. If you Google my name, I got lots of recipes on American Hunter. I publish 2 every month on their website. I'm the waterfowl chef at Delta Waterfowl. I got some stuff on Bow Hunting World. There's 54 other publications that I write for in the States. So there's lots of stuff online about deer hunting or archery or muzzleloaders or waterfowl. If you're interested in reading some of the stuff I've written over the years, there's lots out there.
And Harvest Your Own, you gotta do a podcast there too?
Yeah, do the Harvest Your Own podcast, and it's really geared towards first-time hunters or people looking for more information about specific activities. Like we do stuff on shotguns or waterfowl or crane hunting or calling elk. So we've done very well. Been pretty happy with the downloads. We broke the 10,000 mark earlier this year. So
Nice.
People are listening to it, and hopefully the message is getting out there and people enjoy it. Always open for suggestions. If you look me up on Facebook or Instagram, send me a message if you got an idea about a podcast you'd like to hear.
Yeah, no, and make sure you like it all, because all the recipes that come out there are delicious. So you better.
I notice you're one of the first ones to see them all the time. I appreciate that.
Oh man, I love eating.
That's why we hunt and fish.
Yeah, it's always delicious. Thanks, Brad, for being on. Really appreciate it. Everybody else, next Tuesday, we got the ice fishing show. Adam Turnbull, Gibson Tilley, and Wesley Kyle. So we're going to have a lot of knowledge, talking all the new gear and rolling into ice fishing, because hopefully only 2 weeks. But I don't know this year. It might be second week in November. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Take care.